I'm Attorney Shapiro. Today on What You Really Want to Know, we answer the question, what are the top 10 tips to avoid processing delays when filing your immigration applications? To answer your question today, I'll walk you through some simple actions that you can take to avoid the most common reasons that applications get delayed. None of these tips are a substitute for an experienced immigration attorney, which leads me to tip number 1. Hire an experienced immigration attorney. There's just no substitute for professional help here. The attorneys at the Shapiro law firm have over 16 years of experience, and we work hard to ensure that every single application is complete and accurate to give you the best chance of obtaining an approval without any unnecessary delay. Tip number 2. Download the correct form edition from USCIS website. The website that you can find every single form is uscis.gov/forms. And I will put this on our website under the video so you can see this is just a screenshot of the website to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. This one right here is for an I-130 petition for an alien relative. And what I've highlighted, although you might not be able to read in the video, on the website you can, I've highlighted what says the form, the instructions, edition date, where to file, filing fee, and evidence checklist. And I'm going to be referring to some of the things on here that I've highlighted while I go through the tips. So after you download the form that you need to fill out, you need to make sure that it's the correct form, especially if you tried Googling the form instead of going to the actual website. This is page 1 of the petition for alien relative. On the bottom, what I have highlighted is a date. This is the edition date, and it should match the edition date on the USCIS website for that form. A lot of times, there'll be outdated editions that USCIS is no longer accepted. If you send in an old edition, your form will either be rejected outright, or they'll take it, deposit your filing fee check, and then a few weeks, a few months later, they'll send it back to you saying you used the wrong form. Sometimes they just deny it as well. So the first thing you got to do is make sure you fill out the right form. Tip number 3. Once you have the correct form edition, download the instructions that's on the same page. So the top link will usually be the form. The link right below will be the instructions for the form. Make sure that you understand each and every question that you're answering. And the first place to look for guidance will be on these instructions. And make sure that the question that you're answering is applicable to you, because these are general forms that often apply to multiple categories or for multiple types of immigration benefits. Do not fill out areas of the form that do not apply to you. Even checking the wrong box for the wrong category can end up resulting in a denial. Tip number 4. Make sure you submit all of the required evidence. The list of evidence can also be found in the instructions. And sometimes USCIS, for certain forms, will provide a checklist of evidence. Don't just rely on this checklist, though. Make sure to cross-check it with the evidence on the instructions. And this is crucial because failure to submit exactly what is required is one of the biggest reasons things get delayed and ultimately denied. Tip number 5. If your form requires a filing fee, make sure you pay the correct filing fee and that you write the check or money order out to the correct place. Filing fees can change without notice, so you need to check the web page for the correct fee. It's not just on the instructions, you actually check the web page here. And this will also tell you where to write the check out to. Tip number 6. Organize all of the application and evidence in a logical order with a cover letter and an exhibit list. I always put the cover letter first, followed by the applications, followed by the exhibit list, which will describe every single piece of evidence that's in there, followed by all of the evidence in that order. Remember, USCIS receives thousands of applications every day. you want to make it as easy as possible for them to confirm that you submitted everything that is required. When they first receive your application, they literally go through a checklist and check off and say, okay, they have your birth certificate, I have your passport, I have your passport photos, I have your filing fee check. If you're missing even a single page of the application or a single piece of evidence, your application is going to go from the okay pile to the reject, deny, or incomplete pile. You do not want to be in the reject, deny, or incomplete pile. This pile equals delay. Tip number 7, make a copy of every single page that you send to USCIS. You will not have anything returned to you. You will need copies in case USCIS claims you never sent it, or if you want to review your applications or any of the evidence before your interview, if an interview is going to be required. On this note, do not send any originals unless you're required to do so. Again, you're not going to get it back. If you're not sure if an original is required, check the instructions for that form. You can also call the USCIS customer service number and ask a representative there if an original is required. Tip number 8, confirm that the mailing address is correct. This address can also be found on the same webpage where you get the form. I always double check the mailing address the day I am mailing out an application. USCIS will not forward it to the correct address. Instead, it will be rejected and returned to you weeks or months later, of course, causing an unnecessary delay. If you are applying for an immigration benefit that requires more than one form, check the mailing instructions for both forms to see where to send them. And this, like the filing fee, can change without notice. Tip number 9. Check the filing time periods for the immigration benefit you are seeking, and make sure you file in this time period, not too early and not too late. Under the immigration law, your application is not considered filed until it's received by USCIS. If your application is due May 3rd and you mail it out May 3rd, then it will be late. If you are filing for a benefit that requires you to wait for a certain period of time, like for the 5 years needed as a lawful permanent resident to be eligible for citizenship, do not file it too early. You will not just waste time, but they're usually going to take your filing fee, check, deposit it, and then deny it months later. Tip number 10, double, triple, quadruple check everything. Even a simple spelling mistake or switching two numbers in your social security number can create delays and even bigger problems down the road. And make sure when you're double check that you signed in the right spot and you put the date that you signed in the right spot. Many of these tips may seem obvious, but if you're not used to submitting forms like this, it's easy to overlook these simple tasks that can have a huge impact on how long it takes to process your application. Finally, a bonus tip. I drafted this list of tips in about 5 minutes because I handle these filings every single day and I know exactly what needs to be filed and what mistakes to look for. There's simply no substitute for an experienced immigration attorney. Many clients come to us after trying to file by themselves to save some money, and for the most part, when this happens and a mistake is made, it ends up costing them more overall for us to fix the problem or assist them in refiling everything from scratch. And sometimes even the problem can't be fixed. If you need help with your immigration filings, contact us today. That's all for this episode of What You Really Want to Know. Thanks for watching.